At 9:12 on a Tuesday, my boss slid a termination letter across a glass table like he was paying a parking ticket. Victor Harlan didn't raise his voice. He didn't even look rushed. He sat there in his tailored suit, hands folded, calm as a man ordering lunch. Then he said the line that made my stomach drop. "You blocked my nephew," he said. "You don't get to decide who belongs here." The HR rep, Megan, kept her eyes on the notepad in front of her. Like if she didn't make eye contact, she wouldn't have to remember my face later. Outside the conference room, through the clear glass wall, I could see Logan Harlan sitting on a lobby chair with his ankle crossed over his knee. He wasn't even trying to hide it. This was a show for him. He was waiting for the moment I walked out. My name is Marissa Kane. I was 47 years old, and I was the cybersecurity and systems lead for a company that ran on deadlines, contracts, and trust. I was the person people called when things went wrong, or when they were about to. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't emotional at work. I didn't slam doors or threaten people. I did my job, I documented my work, and I kept the company safe in ways most people never noticed. That morning, Victor was acting like I'd committed a personal crime. He tapped the letter with one finger. "This isn't complicated," he said. "We're moving fast. We're modernizing. And you." He paused, like he was choosing a polite word. "You're slowing things down. I didn't touch the paper." I kept my hands in my lap so he couldn't see them shake. "I didn't block him," I said carefully. "I denied an admin login request that skipped the security checks. That's policies." Victor's mouth tightened. "Policy is not a shield you get to hide behind." "It's not a shield," I said. "It's the job." Megan finally looked up, but only for a second. Her expression said what her mouth couldn't. This was already decided. Victor leaned back like he owned the oxygen in the room. "You embarrassed me," he said. "You made me look weak, in front of my people." That was the first moment I understood the truth. This wasn't about security, it was about control. Logan wasn't qualified for the access he wanted. I knew that because I'd reviewed his onboarding file. Half of it was blank, background checks still pending, training not completed. But Victor wanted him to have the master keys anyway. Day one, no waiting, no process. And I said no, not loudly, not rudely, just no. Now, Victor was handing me consequences like I was a bad employee who couldn't follow directions. He nodded toward the letter again. "We're ending your employment effective immediately," he said. "You'll be paid through the week. Security will escort you to your desk." I stared at him. 10 years. 10 years of patching systems at midnight. 10 years of answering the phone during vacations. 10 years of being the person who caught small problems before they turned into headlines. And he was ending it with one sentence. I thought about my mortgage. The auto draft hit in 3 days. If my paycheck stopped, it wasn't just numbers on a screen. It was the roof over my head. I thought about my daughter, Emma. Her college deposit was due soon. She'd worked so hard for that acceptance letter, and I'd promised her I would make it work. I thought about my health insurance, my prescriptions. The quiet kind of worry that sits behind your ribs when you're a woman in your late 40s, and you know life doesn't hand out free passes. Victor watched me like he expected me to beg. I didn't. I swallowed once. "I haven't signed anything," I said. He gave a small smile. "You will." Megan slid a folder toward me. Separation paperwork, non-disparagement. The usual polite muzzle. I stood up slowly, keeping my face calm even as my chest felt tight. Through the glass, Logan's eyes met mine. He grinned. Just a flash of teeth. Like he'd won something he didn't earn. A security guard appeared at the door. Not aggressive. Just there. Like I was a risk, I walked out with my head up and my throat burning. At my desk, I packed what I could into a cardboard box. My notebook, a framed photo of Emma at her high school graduation, a coffee mug someone had given me years ago with "It saves the day" printed on it like a joke. As I stepped into the elevator, my phone buzzed. An automated alert. A system notification I wasn't supposed to receive anymore. My access had been terminated. My email disabled, but the alert still came through. And the message on my screen was short, cold, and wrong in the worst way. Multiple failed login attempts. Privileged account. Unusual location. I stared at it as the elevator doors closed. Something had already started. And for the first time, I realized Victor hadn't just fired me. He'd removed the one person who knew exactly what to do next. By the time I got home, the box in my arms felt heavier than it should have. Not because of what was inside it, but because of what it meant. I set it on my kitchen table and stood there for a long moment, just listening to the quiet. In my head, I could still hear Victor's voice. "You don't get to decide who belongs here." I'd heard versions of that line my whole career, not always said out loud, but always implied. In meetings where I was asked to keep it simple. In budget reviews where my requests were treated like optional upgrades. In hallway chats where executives thanked me like I was part of the furniture. The company was called Larkhaven Solutions, mid-sized, serious, and profitable. We weren't a cute startup. We handled systems for large clients, billing, logistics, data processing. If we went down, other businesses felt it fast. Missed shipments, late payments, angry customers. Lawsuits, most people didn't think about that. They thought about dashboards and quarterly targets, and how good the CEO looked at conferences. I thought about the parts that could break. My job was simple to explain and hard to replace. I made sure the right people could do their work, and the wrong people couldn't get in. I managed login security rules, backups, and the quiet checks that stop a normal day from turning into a disaster. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't on stage. But I was the reason people could open their laptops on Monday and act like the world was stable. Over time, I became invisible valuable. If everything worked, nobody noticed me. If something failed suddenly, I mattered, and only until it was fixed. I was the one who stayed late when an update had to happen after hours. I was the one who answered when the CFO forgot his password 5 minutes before a board call. I was the one who caught the small warning signs other people ignored because they looked boring. And I didn't do it for applause. I did it because I took pride in being steady. Because Emma was watching me, because my name meant something to me. Then Victor arrived. Victor Harlan was the kind of executive boards love. He had clean teeth, clean suits, and a clean story. He talked about speed and modernizing like he'd invented progress. He smiled in meetings. He used people's names. He sent company-wide emails that sounded caring, but he hated being told no. He hated it in the way some men hate it when it comes from a woman who doesn't soften it with a laugh. At first, it was small pressure. Do we really need that step? Can't we skip the approval just this once? Let's not overthink it. I learned quickly that his favorite word wasn't security or trust. It was faster, and faster always meant risk, even if he refused to say it. He surrounded himself with younger people who nodded quickly. People who were polished and eager and hungry to be seen. People who said yes before they understood the question. I wasn't one of those people. I didn't say no because I wanted control. I said no because I'd seen what happens when you give the wrong person the wrong access. You don't hear the danger coming. You see it later. In invoices you can't send, files you can't open, clients you can't calm down. So when Victor announced his nephew was joining the company, I didn't roll my eyes. I didn't gossip. I did what I always did. I opened the onboarding file and looked for the parts that mattered. And the more I looked, the clearer it became. Logan wasn't hired for skill. He was placed for access, for influence, for Victor to prove he could bend the company to his will. And the day I blocked that first login request, I didn't just deny a username. I challenged a man who couldn't stand being challenged. The week everything turned, it started with a Monday meeting that was supposed to be about operational alignment. That's what Victor called it when he wanted an audience. We were in the main conference room on the 12th floor, the one with the long table and the city view. Victor stood at the front with a clicker in his hand, smiling like he was about to announce good news. Everyone, he said, I'm excited to introduce a new role, Special Operations Analyst. This is someone who will help us move faster, cut red tape, and keep our teams aligned. Then Logan walked in. He was 24, maybe 25. Perfect hair, crisp shirt. The kind of confidence you get when you've never been told you're wrong in a way that matters. Victor put a hand on his shoulder like he was presenting a trophy. This is my nephew, Logan Harlan. He's brilliant and he's going to make a real impact. A few people clapped. Not because they were happy, because they were careful. I clapped too. Once polite, controlled. But inside, I was already checking the basic questions. What systems would he touch? What access did he need? Who would supervise him? What training did he have? After the meeting, I went straight back to my office and opened his onboarding ticket. It was rushed, missing dates, background check, pending, security training, not completed. His account request list was already there, and it made my jaw tighten. He wasn't asking for basic access to do normal work. He wanted privileged access, admin-level permissions. The kind of login that can open doors you don't even know exist until someone walks through them. I sent a quick message to HR asking if there was a mistake. No response. Then my phone rang. It was Victor's assistant. Victor wants a quick word, she said. I walked to Victor's office with my notebook in hand. Not because I wanted a fight, but because I learned a long time ago that memory is not a defense. Paper is. Victor didn't invite me to sit. He stood by the window with his hands in his pockets, looking out at the skyline like he was thinking big thoughts. He spoke without turning around. Marissa sees, he said. Don't make this hard. He's with me. I kept my voice level. I'm not making it hard. The request needs to go through the standard checks. Victor finally turned and smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You're being rigid. I'm being responsible, I said. He took a slow breath like I was a child who wouldn't share. He needs access today. Today isn't the timeline, I said. The checks are the timeline. That was when his patience cracked just enough to show the edge underneath. You're acting like this is about you, he said. It's about the company, I said. And about the risk I'm accountable for. His smile disappeared. You're accountable to me. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't flinch. I just said the truth. I'm accountable to policy, and to the clients who trust us. Victor stared at me and I could feel the room change. The air got thinner. The distance between professional disagreement and personal offense closed fast. Logan will be in systems today, Victor said. Be helpful. I went back to my desk, and 2 hours later, Logan appeared at my door like he owned the hallway. Hey, he said, leaning against the frame. Victor said you'd get me set up. Welcome, I said. Let's start with basic access and security training. He blinked like he didn't understand the words. No, I need admin. I'm supposed to help streamline stuff. Admin access isn't a starting point, I said. It's earned access. He chuckled. That's old school, it slows people down. I kept my face calm. It keeps people safe. Logan rolled his eyes like I was annoying him on purpose, just to prove it. Victor wants it. For a second, I could hear the pressure in the building, not just from him, from the culture Victor had planted. The quiet rule everyone had learned. If Victor wants it, you don't slow him down. I walked him through the process anyway. He interrupted. He skimmed. He acted like he already knew better. And when I refused to approve the privileged request, his voice sharpened. So you're saying no? I'm saying not yet, I said. Not without checks. He leaned closer. You know who my uncle is, right? I looked at him steadily. Yes, and you should know who I am. I'm the person who has to answer when things go wrong. He walked out with a tight smile. Within an hour, I had coworkers stopping by my desk with that careful tone people use when they're warning you without wanting to be seen warning you. Marissa, one of the IT managers murmured, just give him what he wants. I didn't. I documented the request. I documented the denial. I attached the policy. I sent a formal email to Victor and HR, and at 4:38 p.m. a calendar invite popped up on my screen. From Victor, subject, quick meeting, 9 a.m. no agenda, no room listed, just a time. It felt like a trap because it was. When I walked into the meeting the next morning, I already knew. The air in the hallway was too quiet. The receptionist didn't meet my eyes. 2 security guards stood near the elevators like they were waiting for someone. Inside the small conference room, Victor sat at the head of the table. Megan from HR was there again, and this time there was a second HR person, a man I'd barely seen before. He was holding a folder like it weighed nothing. Victor didn't offer coffee. He didn't ask how I was. He didn't waste time. Marissa, he said, we're going to address a pattern. I sat down slowly and placed a thin stack of papers on the table in front of me. The policy, the email chain, the access request, the denial, the timestamps, facts. Victor glanced at the stack like it was a pile of junk mail. You've been difficult, he said. You've been resistant. You've created friction. Megan cleared her throat softly, like she wanted to appear involved without actually being involved. I kept my voice steady. I followed policy. Logan's request skipped required checks. Victor leaned forward. Don't hide behind policy. I'm not hiding, I said. I'm doing my job. His jaw tightened. Your job is to support leadership. My job is to protect the company, I said, and even as I said it, I could feel the mistake. Not because it wasn't true, because Victor didn't care what was true. He cared what made him look powerful. Victor's voice dropped. You embarrassed me, he said. You made me look weak. There it was again. Not risk, not clients, not security, his ego. I glanced at the HR folder in the man's hands. Is this already decided? I asked. The HR man opened the folder without answering. Megan's eyes dropped to her notepad. Victor gave a small, practiced sigh like he was the victim of my stubbornness. Yes, he said. We're ending your employment effective immediately. The words hit my chest like a weight, but my body didn't move. I stayed calm because I had learned, the hard way, that some people use your emotion as proof you deserve what they're doing to you. On what grounds? I asked. Victor's eyes stayed on mine. Insubordination. Attitude. Failure to align. I almost laughed, but it wasn't funny. I slid my papers forward. This is the policy. This is the request. This is the denial. This is the reason. If you terminate me for this, Victor cut me off. Stop. You're not on trial. You're done. The HR man pushed the termination letter toward me like Victor had done the day before, like this was a routine part of their calendar. Megan finally spoke. You'll have 20 minutes to collect personal items. Your access has already been disabled. Already. So while I was sleeping, they had turned me off like a switch. I thought of my mortgage auto draft. 3 days, I thought of Emma's deposit. I thought of the health insurance card in my wallet that would stop meaning anything. For a second, I felt something raw in my throat, but I swallowed it down. Do you want me to sign this now? I asked, nodding at the separation paperwork. Victor gave a thin smile. It would be smart. I didn't reach for the pen. I'll review it. Victor's expression tightened. You're not going to make this harder. I looked at him. You already did. That was when I noticed the detail he wanted me to notice. Through the glass wall, in the hallway, Logan was standing there. Not sitting this time. Standing. Waiting. Like he was ready to walk into my role the moment I stepped out of the room. Victor followed my gaze and didn't even try to hide it. He wanted that sting. He wanted the message to land. You're replaceable. I stood up. I need my things, I said. A security guard appeared at the door again. I walked back to my desk with the guard a few steps behind me, like I might steal a stapler and flee the country. I packed fast, my notebook, my photo of Emma, the mug, a small plant I'd kept alive for years. While I shoved the last item into the box, I looked at my monitor. Already locked out, already dead to me. And I felt something shift inside my chest. Not anger, clarity. There were systems in that building that ran smoothly because I built the workflows, the safe backups, the checks people forgot existed because I made them quiet and automatic. Not because I hoarded knowledge, because nobody stayed long enough to learn what I knew. And now the people who treated me like a nuisance were about to find out what replaceable really costs. I walked out without begging. I walked out without looking back. And as the elevator doors closed, I made myself one promise. I was done protecting people who didn't value me. The first hour after I got home felt unreal. I set my box down in the kitchen, took off my shoes and stood there like my body didn't know what to do next. My laptop stayed closed. My work phone sat on the counter silent. I kept thinking I would wake up and realize it was a bad dream. Then my personal phone buzzed. A text from Darren. In infrastructure, are you seeing this? I stared at the screen, confused for half a second. Seeing what? I wasn't supposed to see anything anymore. Before I could type back, another message came in. This one from Nina on the help desk. People can't log in. It's spreading. They're freaking out. My stomach tightened. I didn't open my laptop. I didn't sign into anything. I couldn't. But I knew what those words meant. I'd heard them before years ago when a supplier got hit and we had to scramble to make sure it didn't jump to us. A third message arrived. A photo this time. It was blurry, taken fast, but I could still read enough. A black screen, white letters. A countdown timer. I felt my mouth go dry, Nina called. I answered on the second ring. Her voice was low and shaking. Marissa, they're saying it's ransomware. Who is they? I asked. The consultants Victor called in like 5 minutes ago. But they're just standing around. They keep asking for admin access. I closed my eyes for a second. Ransomware didn't sound like a movie in real life. It sounded like people whispering in hallways. It sounded like keyboards clacking too fast. It sounded like someone trying to breathe while their job collapsed in front of them. I kept my voice calm. What are you seeing? Files renamed, she said. Shared drives locked. People are getting kicked out of sessions. The ticket queue is exploding. Shipping can't print labels. Billing is down. And she swallowed. Victor is screaming. I pictured him. The same polished calm he used on me, stripped away and replaced with panic. The thought didn't make me happy. It made me cold. Because I knew what comes next. When systems fail, leadership looks for a person to blame before they look for the right fix. I said, don't do anything you don't understand. Don't approve random requests. Document everything. Nina let out a small sound, half relief, half fear. They're asking about you. They keep saying, where's Marissa? I stared at the box on my table, my mug, Emma's photo. 10 years of being the quiet solution to problems no one wanted to think about. They fired me, I said simply. I know, she whispered. That's why this is insane. Another call came in, Darren this time. I put Nina on hold and answered. His voice was tight. Marissa, listen. They're locked out of critical systems. The domain controllers are acting weird. It's like someone gotten deep. Deep means privileged access, I said, my voice careful. It means a high-level account. Darren hesitated. I shouldn't say this, but Logan's account was created yesterday with elevated permissions. My blood went colder. Who approved it? I asked, even though I already knew. There was a pause. Victor, Darren said. He pushed it through. I leaned against the counter, staring at nothing. My mind ran through patterns the way it always did, quietly, fast, without permission. Unusual logins, privileged account. Off hours, a shortcut around checks. The exact thing I'd blocked. My throat tightened, not with tears, but with a sick kind of certainty. Do you have logs? I asked. They're asking for them, Darren said. But people are making changes. It's chaos. I switched back to Nina. Nina, I said, listen to me. Don't let them start restoring anything without isolating it. If they rush, they'll spread it. I tried, she said. Victor told me to stay in my lane. Of course he did. That's when I saw Victor's name on my phone screen. Victor Harlan, calling me. For a moment, I just stared at it. My thumb hovered over the green button, then stopped. A part of me wanted to answer, not to save him. To save the people like Nina and Darren, who didn't deserve to be trapped in his mess. But another part of me remembered the glass conference room. The termination letter. Logan waiting in the hallway like I was yesterday's trash. Victor had made a choice. He'd chosen pride over policy, so I let it ring. I watched it buzz, once, twice, 3 times until it stopped. And in the sudden silence, I realized something sharp and simple. This time, I wasn't the one holding the company together. Victor didn't stop after one call. He left a voicemail 30 seconds later. I didn't play it right away. I stared at the notification like it was a dare. Then I hit play. His voice was polished at first, like he was speaking to a room instead of me. Marissa, he said, we have a situation. I need you to be a professional here. Call me back. A pause, a breath. Then the polish slipped. This is serious, he added, quieter, tighter. We need your help. Immediately, I listened again, not because I enjoyed it, but because I wanted to hear what he didn't say. He didn't say, I was wrong. He didn't say, I'm sorry. He didn't say, we made a mistake. He said, be a professional. Like professionalism meant cleaning up his mess without asking questions. My phone buzzed again. Another call. Victor. Then an email popped into my inbox from a company address that was still able to reach me. Subject. Urgent. Return call. The message was 2 lines. Need you to assist. This is not optional. Call me now. Not optional. Even after firing me, he still thought he could command me. I sat down at my kitchen table and forced myself to breathe slowly. My hands were steady, but my heart was beating hard. Not from fear, from the weight of what I knew. If I walked back in without protection, I could become the easiest scapegoat in the world. They could say I touched the wrong system. They could say I delayed. They could say I caused damage. And if lawyers got involved, client lawyers, insurance lawyers, my name could get dragged through it. I picked up my phone and called the one person I trusted to tell me the truth without emotion, an employment attorney named Rachel Sloan. Rachel answered with a calm voice like she'd seen every kind of corporate cruelty. Marissa, I got fired, I said, and now the company is getting hit. They're calling me to come back. Rachel didn't sound surprised. Have you signed anything? No, I said. Good, she replied. Do not step foot in that building. Do not give advice. Do not touch a keyboard for them unless there is a written agreement. I don't want to be petty, I said, and I meant it. People are stuck in there. They didn't do this. Rachel's voice stayed gentle but firm. This isn't pettiness. This is protection. If you go back for free, you become responsible without authority. And if something goes wrong, they will point at you. I swallowed. What do I do? You write down a timeline right now, she said. Who asked for what? When you denied access, when they terminated you, any names, any emails. Everything. I grabbed my notebook from the box and opened it like it was a life raft. Rachel continued, if you choose to help, it must be under a consulting agreement, clear scope, clear rate, indemnity, and a written acknowledgement of why you were fired. That last part made my stomach twist. Because the truth mattered, and Victor hated the truth. While I wrote, Darren texted again. They said Logan let someone remote in, like a friend. Victor is demanding we restore from backups now. I stared at those words until they blurred. Remote in, a friend. Backups rushed. This wasn't just a bad day. This was leadership doing the exact thing that makes a cyberattack worse, moving fast to feel in control. Nina called again. Her voice was hoarse. Marissa, the biggest client is on a conference bridge. They're asking if their data is exposed. That client was the reason we were stable. The reason we had budgets. The reason people got paid. If they walked, Larkhaven didn't just have an IT problem. It had a business-ending problem. I looked at my notes, the denial, the emails, the timestamps, the policy, my proof. Victor called again. I didn't answer, not yet. Instead, I typed one message to Rachel. I'm going to set terms. Then I opened Victor's email, and for the first time since he fired me, I pictured him not as a powerful man in a suit, but as a man standing on the edge of a cliff he created. And I realized I wasn't deciding whether to save him. I was deciding whether to save myself first. I didn't call Victor back directly. I wrote one email to him, and I copied Rachel. Subject: response to urgent request Victor. I'm willing to assist under a short-term consulting agreement drafted by counsel. All communication goes through my attorney until terms are signed. That was it. No emotion. No lecture. Just a door with a lock on it. Victor replied within 3 minutes. This is absurd. We don't have time for lawyers. Call me. I stared at the message and felt something steady settle in my chest. He still didn't get it. He thought urgency erased consequences. Rachel called me back right away. We're sending terms, she said, today. If they want you, they sign. Within an hour, Rachel emailed Victor a simple agreement. Clear scope, clear rate, clear limits. A serious daily emergency rate, not revenge money, professional money. The price of pulling a company back from the edge. It included full indemnity, meaning they couldn't blame me for their mess. It included access requirements, meaning no one interferes with my work. It included a written statement that my termination was tied to refusing unauthorized privileged access. That last line was the one Victor would choke on. And he did. He called Rachel, not me. Rachel put him on speaker so I could hear his voice without him hearing my breathing. You're turning this into a hostage situation, Victor snapped. Rachel's tone stayed flat. No, Victor, your company is in an emergency. Marissa is offering professional help with standard protections. We'll handle it internally, Victor said. Rachel didn't argue. Then you don't need her. Silence. Then Victor's voice tightened. What's the point of that written statement? Rachel answered calmly. Accuracy, documentation. The same things Marissa tried to give you before you fired her. I could picture Victor's jaw clenching. I could picture him staring at the terms, realizing he couldn't bully his way through a contract the way he bullied people in meetings. While he argued with Rachel, Darren texted me updates like he was trying to hold the walls up with his hands. Shipping is down, label systems locked, billing can't send invoices, client portal is offline. People are screaming. Another message followed. Insurance wants logs. They asked who approved privileged access. Board audit chair is on site. That last part mattered. Victor was powerful inside his own little kingdom. But insurance investigators and board auditors don't care about charm. They care about facts. They care about timelines. They care about names next to approvals. And Victor had forced his name onto this mess. A few minutes later, Nina sent a shaky voice note. In the background, I could hear shouting and phones ringing. They found something, she whispered. They're saying the breach started through a privileged pathway. Like a brand new admin account. My throat went tight. Logan? I asked softly. I don't know, she said, but people keep looking at him. He keeps saying he didn't do anything. Maybe he didn't mean to. Maybe he clicked the wrong link. Maybe he gave access to the wrong friend. Maybe he was careless because he'd never earned the right to be careful. But the breach didn't care about intent. It cared about access. Victor tried one more move. He emailed me directly. If you cared about this company, you'd help without making demands. I stared at that sentence until it almost made me laugh. Care was what he punished in me. Care was what he called rigid. Care was what he fired. So I didn't respond. Rachel did. Marissa will assist when the agreement is signed. No exceptions. 2 hours passed. Then my phone rang. Rachel answered and looked at me. He's signing, she mouthed. When the signed agreement hit my inbox, I didn't feel triumph. I felt relief. Because now, for the first time, the rules were going to protect the person who followed them. And the people who ignored me were about to be forced to follow my process. I returned to Larkhaven without a victory speech and without a smile. I walked in wearing the same calm face I'd worn for years, because panic doesn't fix anything. It only spreads. Security let me through like I'd never left. The same badge reader, the same hallway, the same smell of coffee and printer toner. But the building sounded different. It sounded like fear. Phones ringing nonstop. Doors opening and closing too fast. People whispering in clusters like they were trying to hide from the truth. Victor met me near the conference rooms. He looked tired in a way he didn't know how to hide. His suit was still expensive, but his confidence wasn't clean anymore. Marissa, he said, like we were old teammates. I didn't take the bait. Where's the incident room? I asked. He pointed, and I walked past him without waiting for an apology he wasn't capable of giving. Inside, a handful of outside consultants were set up with laptops. Some looked relieved to see me. Some looked annoyed. Like a woman my age stepping into the center of the storm bruised their ego. I didn't argue with them. I set rules. First, I said we isolate affected systems. No random restoring, no rebooting critical servers, no sweeping changes without notes. I need a clean timeline. One consultant tried to talk over me. We can push a mass reset. No, I said, firm but calm. That's how you lock yourself out and lose evidence. We do this right. The room went quiet for a second. Then someone nodded, then another. That's the thing about a real crisis. Titles stop working when results are required. I didn't save them with magic. I saved them with discipline. We cut off compromised pathways. We rotated credentials the right way. We checked backups before touching them. We rebuilt access from known clean points. We kept a living log of every action taken. Hours later, systems started coming back in pieces. Enough for shipping to print labels. Enough for billing to start queuing invoices. Enough for customer support to stop lying to clients. The first time a dashboard went from red to yellow, a junior tech actually exhaled like he'd been holding his breath all day. Victor hovered. How soon until we're normal? He asked. We're not normal yet, I said. We're stable. There's a difference. He didn't like that answer, but he didn't fight it. He couldn't. By the next Tuesday morning, the board audit chair arrived with 2 outside investigators and a representative from the cyber insurance carrier. They didn't smile. They didn't care about Victor's story. They asked for proof. What was the first point of entry? Who approved the access level involved? Who denied it and why? Who overrode that denial? This is where my documentation became the spine of the truth. I handed over my timeline, the policy, the denial, the email trail, the termination date. The exact words used. The room changed as they read. Victor tried once softly. We had to move quickly. The insurance representative cut him off. Moving quickly isn't a control. The audit chair's eyes stayed on the paper. You fired her for refusing unauthorized, privileged access, she said, not as a question. Victor's face went tight. He didn't answer fast enough. That silence was louder than any confession. Over the next week, Victor stopped being the center of decisions. Then he stopped being part of them at all. He was removed from incident leadership, then placed on leave, then pushed out in a way the company would call mutual. Logan disappeared, too. No announcement, no farewell email, just gone. The biggest client didn't walk away, but they didn't forgive easily either. They renewed under strict conditions, and one of those conditions was simple. They wanted me involved, not as a favor, as a requirement. When it was all over, I sat in my car in the parking lot with my hands on the steering wheel and let the quiet settle again. I thought about how it felt to be treated like an obstacle. Like my standards were a problem. Like my no was disrespect. And I thought about how it felt, finally, to be heard without having to raise my voice. I didn't learn a cute lesson. I learned a real one. Respect isn't earned by loyalty to people who don't value you. It's earned by loyalty to the standards that keep everyone safe. And I never again confused being useful with being valued.